Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the jungle. I'm your host, Hamilton Winters, here with my friend, Jerry Abiog from Standard Insight. So excited to have you on the show this morning, Jerry. How you doing?
Hey, thanks. Thanks for having me on here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is a conversation that we connected on LinkedIn, I guess, a week or two ago that I've been excited about since you told me about a little bit what you do. I know more than I would say the average bear does about what you do, but why don't we do this? Introduce yourself and give us a little bit of background on what you do and how you got to do what you do.
Yeah, thanks, Hamilton. So my name's Jerry Abiog. I'm a co-founder of Standard Insights, and what it is, we develop an AI-driven growth marketing platform to help businesses execute data-driven omni-channel campaigns. And how I got here was a long, windy path, if you will. I've had 25 years of sales and marketing experience, and roughly 9 years ago was my last corporate job. I went out on my own, started my own business, helping software companies with sales and marketing initiatives. That went well. Had some clients that had successful exits. But the one thing and they always say you learn from failure. One of the clients I had, this was about 4 or 5 years ago, was an AI machine learning startup. And it failed miserably. We had funding, I think it was north of 1 million, and it didn't go anywhere. So all those investors had dropped coin. That company is no longer in existence. But I learned two things during that time. Number one, that regardless of what technology you have, people want something that's easy and friendly to use. And number two, there was something bubbling beneath the surface with regards to AI and machine learning technologies. And now I think Accenture did a study that in 4 or 5 years, it's projected to be a $400 billion industry. So that's how I got here. And how did we form Standard Insights? It was through serendipitous events that I met one of my future co-founders. He was visiting Atlanta. He used to live here. I met him through mutual friends. He pitched me this idea that he had about an AI-driven, platform. I took that platform. I said, hey, this sounds neat. I took it out to a trade show out in Colorado, outdoor retail show. And when I returned back to Atlanta, had our first few beta customers, and it just kind of took off from there. Gotcha.
That sounds a lot like my path and path of people that I find myself with. It's kind of windy and it's never a straight path, right?
Yeah.
It's never ever a straight path, but it tells a good story.
Yeah, it's better that way sometimes, right?
It is. It is. Tell us about your background. You're from Cincinnati, correct?
Yeah. UC Bearcat.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. Man, I actually haven't spent any time up there, but it's the Queen City is what they call it, right?
Yeah, I kind of bummed. The tournament, they're projected to do well, and poof, when this pandemic started, all games were canceled. So yeah.
It happens. It happens. Why don't we do this? AI is such a widely used term.
Yeah.
Especially today, and it becomes a more and more common term as time goes on.
Yeah.
For someone that is hearing the term either for the first time or has never really put a definition to it, what is artificial intelligence?
Yeah, at its most basic Cliff Notes definition, it's getting a computer to think and act like a human. And believe it or not, we're seeing in our everyday lives two big examples. Number one is Amazon, when they're sending you notifications on product recommendations. And number two, everyone's favorite activity now with when everyone being hunkered down is Netflix, movie recommendations. But just on a high level, getting a computer to think and act like a human.
Gotcha. And that plays into the learning aspect. So from what I understand, it's taking in all sorts of data, and it learns your habits and it learns your preferences, and that helps to what?
So prioritize and execute for us marketing campaigns, right? So now it's learning. We have data. I mean, data's all over the place. And we've got data here in this app that we're using, StreamYard, right? They have my information. And just like what we're seeing now with this pandemic, we're constantly getting data, analyzing patterns, geographic patterns, demographic patterns, and everything in between. So it's analyzing data. And once you have and quickly analyzing the data, but once you're analyzing the data, you have to take action, because data without action is useless. So it's about taking action on the data you have, whether it's in the medical field or what we're dealing right now, or in my case, in the marketing and sales field.
Gotcha. And from what I've heard, and tell me if I'm incorrect in this, although people have different industries that their business operates in, everyone is a data collection company.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, nowadays, 20, 25 years ago, this would not have applied, but now everything on your browser history, your cell phone apps, it's all, you just have gobs and gobs of data.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. You mentioned a word when we talked just briefly on LinkedIn, and then again in your guest information sheet, which is democratization of AI. Give us a little bit of background on that. And you might have already answered that, but for folks that don't know that term when it comes to AI, what is democratization of AI?
Yeah, simple terms, it means that AI is now being made available to everyone. Back 4 or 5 years ago was Watson AI, right? And now IBM, that was focused towards the Fortune 500 companies. Now AI is being made available to the small, mid-size business owners. So literally, if you have enough data, anyone can take advantage of it.
Yeah. And I guess that term enough, what does that look like in your world or in the AI world? If I'm a business owner, to know if it's available, where do I go and get it? And how do I know if I qualify?
So yeah, AI thrives on lots of cause and effect data. And for us, we look at the amount of customers that a business has. So what we're looking at, a minimum of, if a business has 250 customers on up, obviously the more the better, we can start gleaning patterns and making predictions. So minimum 250 customers on up.
Okay, that makes sense. I know that there are a billion different uses for AI. Yeah. You in particular with the marketing field, and we as a marketing firm, I want to dig into why marketing for you. I know that's your background, but how does AI differ in the marketing field than it would in another field?
Yeah, so three things. Number one, we're using AI. So number one, all companies and anyone that's selling a piece of software or their consulting services, they all want to improve sales, drive costs down. Hey, everyone wants that, but we go beyond that. So we look at three key pillars. Number one is improving customer experience. Number two is preventing customer indecision. And number three is telling your customer what to do next. So as a company, and if you have your marketing, remarketing platforms on point, if you can focus and succeed in those three principles, everything else will fall in place. So if you got good customer experience, preventing customer indecision, and the last one, tell them what to do next, you're going to drive up sales. You're going to increase average order value. You're going to prevent customer churn and so on. So those are the three principles that we help companies with.
That's good. You have a team of how many folks?
So right now we're north of 25.
That's great. That's great. Small enough to be agile, but large enough to where you have good collective experience. How do you form a team like that?
Yeah, it just starts organically and it just grows. I mean, when we first started, we didn't put an ad out, right? It just slowly but surely the team grows. We had a core or 4 co-founders. 2 are here in the States and 2 are in India. And then as we get customers and we expand, we just it's grown organically. And I think that's the best way to do things.
It makes sense. I'm always interested, especially now since we had this global pandemic and the virus that shall not be named.
Yeah.
How this affects everybody's business. How has this affected Standard Insights and your industry as a whole?
So it affected us, in good ways. So give you three mini stories, if you will. So one of our clients, they're a clothing company. They pivoted to selling masks. So now over the course of these last 2 months, they've been sending out emails on masks, and number two, so they've got over 100 different products on their website. Mm-hmm. On their email communication, the top selling products in each city and state, what's projected to sell well. So they're not just sending a blind email of their entire, product catalog to their customers. It's really pinpointed and succinct, sniper-like, if you will. Number two, another company that we're working with, they sell skincare products. Now, the average, their skincare products last an average of 45 days. So now we sent them triggered automation email to help customers, hey, it's time to reorder. So all this is happening in the background. Number three, a $10 million shoe company, we help them send out emails based on the day one is likely to purchase. So Hamilton, if you like to purchase products on Thursday, well, we're going to send you an email on Thursday. So we look at your purchase history. So little things like that may not seem big, but little by little, it's going to help drive your sales. That's number one. And number two, we talked about being agile and adapting and overcoming and pivoting. So this time last year, we actually developed an app. It was for restaurants, and it was a contactless menu system, contactless payment system, where you can, Hamilton can walk into a restaurant and he didn't have to look at a menu. He would just get a link that was provided by the restaurant owner, and you can order everything online or on your phone. So we tried to sell that last year. We just kind of poo-pooed, if you will. So it was 80% done. We put it in the garage, right? But now with this pandemic, who knew, right? So now that this is a thing, we're here in Georgia, and I think one of the requirements for these restaurants are disposable menus. So now, all right, now Hamilton, he has this link. He can make the orders. He can make the payment online. So minimal contact with the wait staff. And then, there are other apps like this with Uber Eats and Grubhub, but two things: they charge a lot and they own your data. So now we're enabling restaurants to own your own data. And if you own a restaurant, now you have all this data. Now you can make these predictions on what your customers are projected to order. So that's how this pandemic has benefited us.
That's
you
amazing.
Always have the right side of things.
Of course. And you never know, you don't always know why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Until later on down the road. And then you look back and you're like, man, I sure am glad that I was doing what I was doing, even though it didn't make sense at the time.
Yeah.
So it seems like that case for you guys.
Yeah, it didn't make sense at the time. Last year, this time, it didn't make sense. Why would we need this? Right? People just look at their menus, But now look, so interesting how things play out.
I'm going to start calling you and asking you what you're working on so I can predict the future.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, I was asking people before this whole thing blew up, I was asking folks what they were most excited about in 2020. I think that's an inappropriate question now.
Yeah.
Because 2020 is kind of down the drain. What are you looking forward to in the future for what you guys are working on and for what you see going forward? Because I know you threw out a number that was just massive.
Yeah.
For the predictions, what are you excited about?
I think now businesses and everyone in general, this has accelerated their digitization, right? That, hey, things are online. They can't ignore it anymore. That in order to succeed in today's new normal is that you've got to be data driven, whether it's looking at, medical data and how do you proceed, or, in marketing, because the data doesn't lie.
Yep.
And I think that's the big key thing that I hope businesses will understand. Hey, I just can't do stuff, run my campaigns, or just operate by the seat of my pants. Let's look at the data. Most businesses have it, and let's prioritize and execute our campaigns or our strategies around that. And I think
taking the guesswork out of it.
Take the guesswork out of it. You're absolutely right, because guesswork is not going to get you, anywhere.
Yep, that makes sense. talk about personal development through this thing, because we've talked about professional development. What have you been reading? What have you been working on? What do you advise other people to do? Because as we're hunkered down, taking from a person that's at your stature, we'd love to hear some advice from you.
Yeah, just work on improving yourself, every day. How can you get better? I mean, one of the things that, I was doing before this is, I'm a, fitness fanatic, right? I believe, it's key to be fit, live a good, healthy lifestyle, and it kind of translates to other things. I can't go to the gym anymore. So what did I do? I started doing more body weight stuff at home and, amped up my running. I read books, started doing podcasts. I did my first podcast a week before all this, the world shut down, right? Yep. Now I've done 10 interviews, but it's always looking at different things to, improve yourself.
Yeah.
And that's the first thing I'm going to ask, like, hey, what have you done? And if you tell me that, hey, I just, watched Netflix and, drank a lot, that's not really a strategy. I mean, I don't mind having a beer here and there or watching Netflix, but if that's all you did during this pandemic, you've had 2 months to work on doing something to, improve yourself, either professionally or personally.
I love it. I love it. I'm trying to think as the audience, and please, for anybody watching or listening in, feel free to drop a question in the comments. We're going to be fielding live questions here for at least the next 9 or 10 minutes. So feel free to drop those in and we'll be able to ask Jerry on your behalf. I know that the term AI in some people's mind has a very positive connotation. In other people's minds, it has a very negative connotation. For the people that have a negative connotation of AI, what do you say to those folks?
Yeah, nothing's perfect. Even the big guys, Amazon and Google and Facebook, their algorithms aren't always right. But the question I ask is, I always ask people, hey, the world isn't perfect. Yeah, but what happens if you don't do something, right? Right? What happens if you don't? The ramifications could be worse, knowing that things aren't perfect. But as long as you work on trying to get better every day with yourself or, algorithms, you'll be fine. But yeah, I do get that. And it's going to happen. Nothing's perfect.
That's good. What is the best piece of advice, business advice that you've been given or that you would be willing to share with us as a person that's had a couple of decades experience in business and with your background, you're smarter than I could ever hope to be. And I'm just here to learn from your experience. I'm much younger in my business experience than you. So give me whatever you can.
Yeah, just keep, wake up every day with a positive attitude and maybe sounding cliche, but just, get after it. I mean, if you look at my LinkedIn profile, I'm not necessarily the smartest guy in the room or, I've done some stuff with athletics. I'm a fitness fanatic, got a blue belt in jiu-jitsu in my, mid 40s, but just keep trying each and every day. And, if you get knocked down, bounce back up. And sometimes it's easier said than done, but that's really the key to being happy and successful.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. It's a great answer. It's cliche, not cliche. It is what it is. And that's the experience that you've had. Why do you do what you do, Jerry?
Because it challenges me on a day in and day out basis. I mean, getting a startup launched, isn't easy. And even when it's launched and you have customers, you're always looking to, hey, how can I service my current customers? What can we do different to separate ourselves from the competitors? And then you're always worried about, getting new customers in the pipeline and growing your business. So each day presents a challenge that, within itself.
That makes sense.
Learning to be uncomfortable. All right. So over the course of my adult life, I've done or participated in Ironman races, ultra marathons, but learning to be uncomfortable when you're not working, it's like, okay, I've handled this before. I've done this. I've learned to overcome. You can translate that mentality into to your professional.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's not a natural thing to want to be uncomfortable.
No, it sucks. And I don't always like it, but you know, you do it. And the more you learn, the more you grow, and yeah, things will happen.
Yeah. There are necessary side effects to growth and to improvement. And it seems like you're not shy of that. There are some folks that are more risk averse than others, and there's nothing wrong with that. But what do you tell people that just don't know how to really get over that hump?
Yeah, just take it one day, one step, one day at a time. Like if you've never, you know, worked out and man, there's no way I can, you know, run a marathon. Maybe just walk around the block. Yeah. Just put yourself out of a comfort zone, you know, a little bit. I mean, if you look at my career, so obviously we're all experiencing what we're experiencing right now. But if you look at my LinkedIn profile, 2008, I was working in the mortgage business, and that imploded back then. So what did I have to do? Learn how to, sell, or I got a job selling to, Fortune 1000 clients. And I just started off the guy on the phone. Right. And then I went out on my own, started helping software companies. And so everything in life every failure, every setback, it's an opportunity for someone to learn. And here I would not have started this company a few years ago if not learning from my, past client that was an AI machine learning company that failed. So just learning and growing each and every day.
That's good. There was a company, we watched a documentary about Magic, whatever it was. It was the company that Apple had on the side that was supposed to be the biggest, greatest, best company. And it was actually the company that paved the way for most of Apple and other tech companies' success. But it was from their ultimate failure that everyone else was able to succeed. And that's kind of what you're saying is you learn more from the experiences that didn't necessarily turn out to be successful in themselves, but have made you successful in your own ventures. And there's a lot to be said for that.
Yeah, absolutely right. So one of my old clients had a successful exit. Like, okay, cool. Got the check. Awesome. But while that was great and didn't really teach me anything. So yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, you learn from failure and how to grow and, overcome and take charge.
There was somebody that I was speaking to who got a loan or a family and friends funding round, and they ended up going belly up. And the dad, who had put in, I don't know, a couple $100,000, looked at his son, and instead of being disappointed, he asked him, "Did you get your $200,000 worth?" Yeah. Did you get your $200,000 worth?
Oh yeah.
If you did, then it was a good investment. But if you didn't, then it was a terrible investment. Right. Yeah. So not all investors are looking for a return on their own. They're looking for it to be a learning lesson for you and others. So that's a powerful thing.
Yeah. Thankfully, the last company, that was not any of my money. So, but yeah, so far so good. We've been self-funded and looking to grow and leveraging what we're learning now once we get out of what we're experiencing. So,
of course. Well, you're a person that takes initiative. I can tell it just by you were one of the first people that jumped at the invitation to come on the podcast. So I appreciate you giving your time, effort, energy, advice, experience today, your insights, for lack of a better term. So as we wrap up, was there anything else that you wanted to add that we didn't cover?
No, I think you pretty much summed it up.
Great. Well, I've learned a lot this morning, and I know that the viewers and listeners have as well. These things go by so quickly. I mean, we're already at 25 minutes almost. So tremendous value this morning. We hope that you felt like you got your value out of it as well. How can folks continue the conversation with you as we wrap up? How can they get in touch with Standard Insights? How do they get in touch with you to continue this?
Yeah, so they can, I'll give you my personal email. It's Jerry, Jerry, at standardinsights.io. They can connect with me on LinkedIn, or they can visit our website, which is under construction, where we're making tweaks to it. But yeah, those are the easiest ways to get a hold of me. Love to chat.
100%. And thank you for coming on the show today. If we can ever be of any assistance to you, please don't hesitate to reach out. We're right here in town. If nothing else, I'd love to buy you a drink or a coffee sometime.
Yeah, hopefully we can meet once all the stuff's over.
Once it's legal to shake hands again. I think.
Yeah. Maybe we do this one. Yeah.
Of course. Well, thank you for your time this morning.
Awesome.
For everybody watching in, please go back and watch what you didn't get to watch earlier. And if you've been on the show with us all this morning, I know you've enjoyed our conversation with Jerry just as much as I have. Check back with us. This is actually a 2-podcast day for me. Later this afternoon, 3 p.m. Eastern, I'll have my friend Phil Castro, the co-founder of BarPass app and the Startup Bootcamp, coming on the show with me. So, but this morning, Jerry Abbiog from Standard Insights, talking about the democratization of AI. Way smarter than I'll ever be, but thank you for imparting your wisdom on me this morning.
Hey, thanks, Hamilton.
Absolutely. Everybody watching in, thanks for joining us in the jungle. I'm the host, Hamilton Winters, with Liger Partners. We'll catch you next time. Hope to see you this afternoon. Have a good day. Bye-bye.